Live from London, this is BBC News. The first picture is released of 9-year-old Alice Aguiar after police confirm she's the third child to have died after yesterday's stabbing attack in the northwest of England. It's understood one of the two adults attacked is Leanne Lucas, the yoga teacher running the summer holiday dance class. She's been praised for her bravery. We'll hear live from our correspondents in Southport and also outside of Alderhay Children's Hospital. Reports of 3 deaths in Venezuela's protests as anger over the election results spills over. Critics say the vote was rigged. A series of devastating landslides in southern India kills more than 90 people. Officials warn many more victims are still trapped. And pollution in the River Seine forces the Olympic organisers to postpone the men's triathlon just hours before it was due to begin. We're live with our team in Paris later this hour. Hello and welcome to Verified Live. We start with that news that police confirmed that a third girl has died from her injuries after the multiple stabbings in Southport in the northwest of England. And in just the last few minutes, the first picture of the 9-year-old girl has been released. This is Alice Aguiar. She's the daughter of Portuguese parents. This the first image, the heartbreaking image that has been released in the last few moments. Well, we know that the attack has also left 5 children and 2 adults in a critical condition. A 17-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. He can't be named because of his age, but the BBC can report that he was born in Cardiff to Rwandan parents and moved to the Southport area 11 years ago. Well, earlier today, the Home Secretary visited the seaside town. Yvette Cooper was visibly moved as she laid flowers at the scene. Also, the pop star Taylor Swift, whose music inspired that dance class, posted a tribute on social media describing the horrendous trauma inflicted. Let's get the very latest from our correspondent, Francis Reid.
Quietly paying respects. The Home Secretary among those who've been here today. A moment's pause in a community which may never be able to understand why. It's been confirmed a third child has died, a 9-year-old girl, in addition to 2 girls aged 6 and 7. 8 other children suffered stab wounds, 5 of them are critically ill. 2 adults are also in a critical condition. The horror unfolded at what was supposed to be a fun, Taylor Swift-themed holiday workshop for primary school children. Yoga, dancing, bracelet making in what's usually a safe space, a haven for pregnant women where baby and children's classes also take place.
Well, I think it's just unimaginable what has happened, this devastating and horrific attack. And I think all of our thoughts will be with the families who have been affected, the loved ones who have been lost and the children who are injured. And it's really important that they get all the support they need.
The BBC understands that Leanne Lucas is among those who were attacked. The teacher running the holiday workshop yesterday. She's been praised for her bravery, although her condition has not been confirmed by authorities. In a statement on Instagram, Taylor Swift said the horror of yesterday's attack is washing over me continuously, and I'm just completely in shock. These were just little kids at a dance class. I am at a complete loss for how to ever convey my sympathies to these families. The community here feel the same.
To hear news like this, it's just so heartbreaking, and the poor parents.
Children should be able to enjoy their summer holidays, and the beginning of it, this tragedy's happened, and it's just so utterly, you can't describe in words how upsetting it is.
People are in shock, people are fearful. Southport is a very small town, and there will be many people, both personally impacted by what happened yesterday here, but also they will know the families, their children will know the children who were in that room when this happened, and we need to give them space to articulate their emotions.
A 17-year-old suspect who's been arrested was born in Cardiff and moved to the Southport area in 2013. His parents are from Rwanda. The incident is not being treated as terror-related.
There's still a lot to be figured out. The police have obviously said that they've arrested one 17-year-old individual. They're not currently looking for anybody else. They don't believe that there is anybody else related to this. It's obviously a complicated investigation, so they will have to take the time now to figure out what's happened, why it happened.
Specialist medical teams at places like the famous Alderhay Hospital continue to try to save as many lives as they can. There are more and more flowers as the day goes on, one with a poem saying, "We cling to future hope," so desperately needed here now. Francis Reid, BBC News.
Well, let's speak live to our correspondent Nikki Schiller, who's in Southport for us, and Rowan Bridge, who's outside Alderhay Children's Hospital. To Nikki, first of all, and Nikki, we had that devastating update earlier, didn't we, from the police about this third fatality?
That's right, Matthew. Within the last couple of hours, we've heard that the 9-year-old who was yesterday critically injured died overnight in hospital. And in the last half an hour, we've had a photo of her released. Her name is Alice Aguiar. And the information that we're getting is coming from the Portuguese minister talking on television. He said that she is the daughter of Portuguese parents, originally from Madeira. She was 9 years old. He said she was one of the victims of this awful crime. The family live here in Southport. You wouldn't be surprised to know that the minister saying they are in a state of shock. Earlier on Facebook, a relative of Alice's described a moment of such pain and said it hurts the soul, it hurts the body. We can now bring you the full statement from Karina Aguiar. And it reads, "Princess Alice, in this moment of such pain, it hurts the soul, it hurts the body, it hurts the mind. A lump in the throat. You were just an innocent child, a happy girl, smiling, who had a bright life ahead of her, which a despicable being took from you, without mercy or pity, without any reason. Look after your parents who suffer, who are desolate, destroyed. Look after them. Fly high, our little star. I love you." That a statement from Karina Aguiar, the 9-year-old Alice Aguiar, who we know now has died. And Matthew, it says, a lump in your throat. I think that sums up the mood here. Throughout the day, you can see the media is here in force. This is media not only from here in the United Kingdom, from around the world, Australia, France, colleagues from Germany. And throughout the day, this has been building, and you may also be able to see behind me the flowers that have been building throughout the day. So many people coming and laying floral tributes. You mentioned in your introduction that the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, came here. She came with the local MP and members of the Merseyside police force. And unusually in these incidents, it was absolutely quiet here. All you could hear was the sound of the cameras clicking. The journalists went silent. The members of the public who are here went silent. The police officers around went silent. And you just watched the Home Secretary laying her flowers, looking at the other tributes that had been left. And then she hugged, in quite an emotional moment, the local MP as well. And for a moment, they just stood there in silence. And that has been happening through the day. Earlier, a gentleman just came up and stood here at the barrier in silence, almost offering a little prayer. This seaside town in the northwest of England is in a state of shock, in a state of grief today after that mass stabbing yesterday. What happened on this street? A man went into a holiday group. It's the start of the summer holidays here in the United Kingdom, and what was being held was a Taylor Swift-themed dance event. There were 25 children there taking part, also making bracelets and things like that. These groups happen all over the country during the summer holidays, probably all around the world. Parents drop off their children for a few hours during the summer holidays to do an event. Now, this one in particular was aimed at 6 to 11-year-olds. There were 25 children inside, and then the peace was disrupted by a man who went on a stabbing rampage inside that building. And as we now know, 3 girls have died. We've mentioned 9-year-old Elise. We've had her picture in the last couple of hours, but also we know that the other girls were aged 6 and 7. So this group was aimed at 6 to 11-year-olds. So one of those who has died is just 6 years old. As we said, 5 others are in a critical condition, and also 2 adults are in a critical condition. Now, police have been talking about the fact that those 2 adults were trying to protect the children at this event during this incident, and they were injured during that rampage. And they, Matthew, as I said, still in a critical condition in hospital.
Nikki Schiller, thanks very much. Well, let's find out more about all of that. Rowan Bridge is outside of Alderhay Children's Hospital. Rowan, just bring me right up to date in terms of any sort of update that's come from the hospital about all those others involved, both children and adults.
Yeah, Matthew, I mean, we were been promised an update all day, really, from about 9 o'clock this morning, and then it did come in just before midday today, which was the news that nobody wanted to hear, which was 9-year-old Alice Aguirre had died as a result of her injuries overnight, and that they confirmed the details, as Nikki was saying, of 2 of the other children who were involved who were killed. We know that there are still 5 children and 2 adults who are in critical condition. We haven't been given any more details about them. We don't know how old those children are, what sex they are, or any details of what their injuries are. We know that one person who was certainly injured as a result of the attack was Leanne Lucas, who was running the dance lesson. There have been tributes been paid online to her for the efforts that she made when this attack happened, but we've not been given any official data in terms of her condition at the moment. The children that were injured were taken to 2 hospitals, here at Alderhay Hospital in Liverpool and also Manchester Children's Hospital. The reason they were used, those 2 hospitals were used, they are the major trauma centres for children in the northwest of England. And in fact, the scale of what they were facing here yesterday, Alderhay declared a major incident, which gives you an idea of the scale of what they were dealing with. That has now been stood down, but clearly these were difficult and distressing times for the doctors and nurses here, because this was not a situation of an accident or children who had an illness, the sort of thing that they are usually dealing with, but this was what police described as a ferocious attack on young primary school aged children. I think what we've also seen, though, you heard Nikki there talk about the shock and numbness that there really is in the community, and I was down at the police cordon this morning, and he's right. It's a beautifully sunny day here in Liverpool, and it was in Southport this morning, yet what you noticed was how quiet it was. It's the summer holidays. You'd expect there to be children out playing, yet there was nobody, and I think that's a sign of how stunned and shocked the community is. But you've also seen in these worst of times the best in people. A fundraising page has been set up to raise money for Alderhay Hospital, which is treating some of those critically ill children. That was set up this morning. That has raised more than £100,000 already today.
Rowan, thanks very much. Rowan Bridge there at Alderhay Hospital. Midway through Rowan's answer, you will have seen those flurry of pictures there from the floral tributes, because we were just seeing officials from Everton Football Club arrive there at the scene to lay their tributes, and that's still going on. We've been told that both officials and players from Everton and Liverpool, of course, fierce rivalry between those 2 clubs, but of course on a day like yesterday and today, the coming together of that, so those club officials there at the scene to lay their flowers, their tributes, and have a few moments of thought at that scene that grows by the hour in terms of the number of flowers left there. We'll return there in the next little while, but let's pick up and talk to Peter Williams, who's a former inspector with Merseyside Police and a senior lecturer at the Liverpool Centre for Advanced Policing Studies at Liverpool John Moores University. Thank you so much for being here with us. I mean, the whole community, as we saw there, is absolutely shell-shocked in terms of what the police will be doing as we're talking. Give me a clearer idea.
Yes, good afternoon, Matthew. Well, everybody is shocked. I mean, you're quite right. And, you know, I think what the reports we just heard very eloquently described the situation across Merseyside at the present time, particularly at Southport, and what, you know, reflected well the community's feelings. But in relation to the police service, which you responded to directly, they will be what they should be, and that is very professional in conducting this, what is obviously a criminal investigation and a major one as well. And that will be a key part of that. Is no secret, as we've seen it already with the cordons and the like. It will be the forensic examination, which I would imagine would be quite extensive. And I understand the suspect was arrested at a separate premises. So effectively, there's two scenes which the force will be managing at the moment. I would imagine that will take some time before that is actually concluded. In addition to that, police officers will be on the ground doing the routine inquiries that are necessary in an investigation such as this, and that's the basic police work: knocking on doors, house-to-house inquiries, speaking to people, looking for further evidence from CCTV, ring doorbell evidence. And the purpose of all this coming together is to create a full picture actually as to what has happened. There's little point in the suspect being interviewed by the police until we are in possession, or the police are in possession, the investigation team are in possession of the full facts.
Yes.
Now, not the public are waiting for updates as they come, but so far, if you notice, Merseyside Police have been very matter of fact. And I'm
Peter,
sure...
I'm sorry to cut across you, but I do for an important reason, because as you were just midway through that answer, Merseyside Police have issued the latest statement and confirmation of all three names of the three girls who died yesterday in Southport. We were looking at that picture of 9-year-old Elise Aguiar only a short while ago. Well, the police in the last few moments have also now identified the two other girls that we know had died: 6-year-old BB King and also 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe. So those the three names. We've had one set of pictures released earlier. We anticipate more of the pictures in the next little while, but police confirming the identities and the ages. We knew that from the earlier statement: 6, 7 and 9. And just to repeat, BB King, who was 6, and Elsie Stancombe, who was 7, and Elise Aguiar, who was 9. And their families, the statement goes on to say, are being supported by specialist officers. They've issued photographs and asked for their privacy to be respected. BB King's family have shared the following tribute. Let me just read that to you, because it says, "No words can describe the devastation that has hit our family as we try to deal with the loss of our little girl." The family of Elise Aguiar paid the tribute that Nikki read out a little earlier. "Keep smiling and dancing like you love to do, our princess. Like we said before to you, you're always our princess, and no one would change that. Love from your hero daddy and mummy." So that just coming from Merseyside Police. Every aspect of this story excruciating, as we see the floral tributes there. They grow and grow by the hour, with officials in the last little while from the local nearby football clubs, Everton and Liverpool, have come. We've seen politicians there. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, was there earlier in the day. And of course, members of the public just taking their flowers, their cards, pausing there to think and just take in, I mentioned there at the start, the shell shock of the community. This is a small town, Southport, in the northwest of England, and it is such a shocking incident, such a violent incident, and every description utterly harrowing in terms of what we heard from witnesses yesterday, what the first responders had to actually endure in the first few moments. So those are the scenes. Let me bring in Peter Williams, the former Inspector at Merseyside Police, who I was talking to. And Peter, sorry to break away to give our viewers that update, another distressing update. You were just taking us through what the police will be doing, and you finish your answer by saying that, in a sense, there's no point having any sort of interviews with anyone involved that they have detained before they establish exactly what happened. And they have so many witness accounts to actually go through, don't they?
Indeed, and that just underlines the complexity of this inquiry, which I think is what the Chief Constable said in her first press conference yesterday afternoon. Obviously, under our system, where there is a clock ticking away, and the male was arrested about 1 o'clock yesterday. So, police authorisations will give them till 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, I anticipate later on this afternoon there would be an application at the nearest magistrate's court for a warrant of further detention. The law entitles to that to be extended to 96 hours, which of course is 4 days, which takes us to Friday. And I wouldn't anticipate any interviews of the suspect that's been arrested until about Thursday at the earliest, given the amount of forensic evidence that needs collection, the potential number of witnesses, in order to get this particular full picture I've been speaking about before the interviewing officers can actually go and actually interview the suspect that's been arrested. Yeah. So this is a complex inquiry, but it's also an inquiry that's necessary to be concluded and carried out, if you like, expeditiously, because of the requirements under English and Welsh law, sure, which is from the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, as I'm sure your viewers be aware of. So when I started by saying, what will the police be doing? Well, they will be doing exactly what they are trained to do. They're skilled at doing that, and that is actually investigating this, what is obviously a horrific crime, but gathering the evidence for the criminal prosecution.
And Peter, just sorry to cut in, you use that phrase, they're doing what they're trained to do, and that was also the case yesterday, but that doesn't take away from arriving and having to deal with the most harrowing, traumatic scenes, does it?
No, it doesn't, and nobody expects that at all. And of course, there was other first responders as well there, such as the fire and rescue, and of course the paramedics and the ambulance. And that will have been, there is no doubt, that was an absolutely horrific scene to be sent to and arrive at. And of course, that would have been extremely traumatic. But of course, as an organisation and as a service, the police have got, and the other services have got to be professional in how they conduct their investigation and their duties from hence. But yes, you're absolutely right. It's not something that we fortunately see that much of. We know this from the amount of public outcry and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, in my service in Merseyside, I've seen witness James Bulger, Rhys Jones, and of course 2 years ago, Matthew, you'll remember the shooting of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Cordell. And whilst they were completely horrific incidents, of course now we've seen this on a multiple scale. And I think going forward, Yvette Cooper's office need to look at the issue in relation to knife crime in a wider context than perhaps what we are looking at it at the moment.
Peter, stay with me again, because I want to return to that news I brought viewers just a short while ago, that update from Merseyside Police, because confirmation from them just in the last few minutes of the names of all three of the girls who died in that stabbing incident, and the pictures have also been released. So let me take you through it one by one, because the police saying that BB King, who was 6, was one of the people we knew had died yesterday after that attack. 6 years old, her family sharing a tribute. Let me read it once again. No words can describe the devastation that has hit our family as we try to deal with the loss of our little girl. Also, the police confirming that 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe was the second of the 2 little girls that we knew had died yesterday. 2 confirmed dead yesterday. We heard that in the evening press conference. So that is Elsie, who is 7. We saw the picture and the details of BB. And also in the last hour, we learned that 9-year-old Elise Aguiar had died, and she died overnight. She was one of the people taken to Alderhay Children's Hospital, officials and medical staff battling there, but losing that battle. And just after lunchtime, the confirmation of that news that the 9-year-old had also died after yesterday's attack, and her family paying this tribute, say, keep smiling and dancing like you love to do, our princess. Like we said before, you're always our princess, and no one would change that. So the first pictures there of all three of the girls, just bringing home, I suppose, when you see those pictures, the age of the girls we're talking about. This was primary school ages, this dance class done in the holidays, celebrating Taylor Swift music. And of course, the singer has put out her own statement earlier today, and we'll get to that a little later in the programme. But those, the first details of the names, the pictures. Peter, let me bring you back in, because we were talking to you about the variety of lines about the police investigation, and each statement keeps returning to a fundamental request from the police of people being urged not to speculate. But people are searching for answers, and at the moment there are very few.
Yeah, I think the reason why one reason why the police are doing that is from an incident 18 months ago in the northwest of England. Of course, you and your viewers will remember it, Matthew, and that is the sad case of Nicola Bulley. On that occasion, of course, the investigation was almost hijacked by the media, and particularly the social media responses at that time. As a result of that, there was an inquiry by the College of Policing, which was published last November, and it's available on their website should anybody wish to read it. And it does say, whilst Lancashire Police did a very professional investigation overall, there were events which effectively overshadowed that investigation. That was the influence of social media. And I think Merseyside Police will be aware of that, and they will want to minimise as much as they can the influence of that, and they will want to stay in control of the media output, if you like, which is why I said earlier, if you notice, the press releases and the press conferences so far have been very matter of fact, with very little speculation, and I would imagine that theme will continue.
Yes, I suspect all of those officials well aware of what it says in terms of the law that covers areas like this, and that is, of course, one of the reasons why there is no name attached to the 17-year-old that has been arrested, given the age of the person that we are talking about. A final thought, though, Peter, from you, because the community very clearly needs support. The families, absolutely, obviously, and in the statements, the police reference the various support staff that are with all of those families. But in terms of the emergency services, police, who you have very close links with, I heard you in an interview yesterday say that actually things are very different to how they were perhaps a generation ago in terms of the amount of support that officers will get in a situation like this.
Yeah, very much so. During my service and my time, it was very patchy, if at all. There was very little support. There was very little recognition of what trauma could be when people reflected on what they'd actually witnessed and seen, like with those officers and all the first responders yesterday. But I'm happy to say that is complete. That has changed 100%, and now there are good professional services available for situations like that. And in fact, there's a proactive campaign to encourage officers and other first responders to access those services. So they are there now, but it's been a long struggle. But to answer the question in the short term, Matthew, yes, they are there. But I think we've had to learn the hard way in order to get here.
Peter, it is good to talk to you on another terrible day, but Peter Williams, thank you for joining us here on BBC News. Let's head back to Southport and back to Nikki Schiller, who is there for us. And Nikki, since we came away from you, we saw those officials from, I think it was Everton Football Club, arriving to pay their tributes, but the politicians have also been there. The Home Secretary was there this morning. Just remind our viewers what she said when she was there, because she was clearly moved as she was there kneeling at the flowers, leaving her tributes and flowers and cards.
Yeah, absolutely, Matthew. Interestingly, you say what she said. She didn't say anything when she was actually here at the scene. And that's often unusual. When a politician comes to do something, they will answer a question from the media. We had none of that today. So Yvette Cooper came with her flowers. She laid the flowers. She was joined by the local MP here and also members of the Merseyside police force. And it was unusual, both myself and my other colleagues who were here, how it was absolutely quiet. Members of the public fell silent, the press fell silent, and all you could hear was the clicking of the cameras going, nothing else. And after she'd laid the flowers, she looked at some of the other messages that were there, but then stood in silence for a while, just looking at that. And she also hugged the local MP. And then as she walked away, everyone parted to let her go. And I think that just shows the impact that this terrible event has had, not just here in Southport, but around the country. It has impacted people, and I think that's because it is children that we are particularly talking about. Young children on a summer holiday, beginning of the summer holidays here in the United Kingdom, and they were going to a dance event, a Taylor Swift themed dance event, and then this horror happens while they are dancing and playing. And as you've said, in the last few minutes we've had those names, which always with these stories, it is the names and the pictures of the victims that really bring it home to you about the people who have lost their lives. We have 9-year-old Elise Aguiar, Portuguese, family lives in Southport. As you can imagine, the police saying her family are in a state of shock, being supported by specialist officers. We also had a tribute from them saying, keep smiling and dancing like you love to do, our princess. Like we have said before to you, you're always our princess and no one would change that. Love from your hero, daddy and mummy. And you can't imagine the grief that her parents are going through at the moment. Also, the other two, 6-year-old BB King and her family shared the following tribute. No words can describe the devastation that's hit our family as we try to deal with the loss of our little girl, BB. And we've also had a picture released of the other girl that died, 7-year-old Elsie Stankham. Her family are, of course, upset, so deciding whether to provide a tribute. Of course, the police are saying that they are requesting their privacy, which of course in this time you could understand. But as well as those pictures, it will also bring home to the other local residents here in Southport about who has died. They can now put the names and the faces to the 3 who have died that we have had, the 9-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old. But we also mustn't forget that there are 5 other children who are in a critical condition in hospital at the moment in a number of hospitals across the northwest of England. We've also got those 2 adults who are also in a critical condition. And there have been tributes to one of those, the lady who organised this Taylor Swift themed event. She's named a lady called Leanne Lucas. And so many people on social media today, Matthew, have paid tribute to her bravery. Now, we don't know what her condition is. There's also been tributes to a local man called Joel. He's a personal trainer who intervened here. People calling him a hero, putting his life at risk to try and save the lives of those young people who were inside the dance club. As you mentioned as well, Taylor Swift, it was her music that was being used, and she has paid a tribute on Instagram. She posted, "I am completely in shock. They were just little kids at a dance class." And just those few words really do bring home to you what this means. And the fact that her fans have already raised over £100,000 for Alderhay Children's Hospital. We were hearing from Rowan Bridge, our correspondent there, a little earlier. That money going to them to support the families of those who've been injured and died here. And as you mentioned, the floral tributes coming. We've had Everton Football Club, but a moment for me earlier also came when some firefighters laid a tribute. And you could see as they walked away, some of them were really visibly shocked and emotional. And we found out after that they had gone, they were some of the first people on the scene yesterday because their fire station is not far from here. And they were the ones who turned up here and started providing first aid to the children who had been attacked before the paramedics and the police got here, because they were around the corner. And of course, firefighters trained in first aid, and they were offering as much help as they could possibly do. But we've seen pictures from yesterday, some really horrific pictures where paramedics trying to treat those children in the street. And we've heard from the authorities that it has really affected the members of the emergency services that came down here yesterday, including some of the paramedics at the time were in tears, Matthew, here.
Yes, not just the emergency services, but you must have heard many, many accounts since you've been there of just the horrors of yesterday, the elongated nature of it, the children, the parents rushing to the scene. What have people been saying of what they remembered about that?
Yeah, so it is interesting today, Matthew. A lot of people haven't wanted to talk too much today, but we heard from eyewitnesses who described the scene as like something out of a horror movie. People have been talking about they will never, ever be able to get the sound of the screams of the children out of their memories. And I think that is what it is. Any parent can obviously imagine they've dropped their child off to an event and then they hear that's happened and they run to the scene. This happened at about 15 minutes before the end of this dance event was supposed to finish. So parents would have been coming back, and then you hear about an incident. It was on social media, and then you've got the awfulness of coming and the reality that your child is inside there where someone is stabbing children. And so it has been a very emotional time here. but the community are coming together. And it's not just the flowers, little small things. While you've been talking, two little children, they can't have been more than about 6 or 7, came up here to the barrier with a set of chocolates for the police officer who's standing here. They asked me standing here at the barrier, could they come? And of course, we let them in. And there are, right here, I can see crisps and drinks and chocolates. And that is what the community have been doing, little things to show that they care. They've been bringing them for us journalists, for the officers, as well as later we are going to have, in a couple of hours' time, a big vigil, which one of the local councillors who I spoke to earlier, who grew up just 10 doors away from where this incident happened, he said that there will be a large turnout at that vigil later because the community is coming together. We've talked to church leaders who've opened the doors of their churches to allow people to just come in and contemplate what has happened. The local football club, which isn't far from here, they were supposed to have a pre-season friendly tonight. That, of course, has been cancelled, but they've opened their doors and have specially trained counsellors in the stadium, so people from the local community, if they just want to talk about it, can go in and just have a few words or a quiet moment. And that is what this community here, Matthew, is doing. They are coming together in what will probably be a big way with the vigil tonight, but also in those very small little ways.
Yes.
The children bringing chocolates to the police officers who are stationed here. That, I think, shows the impact that this tragedy yesterday has had on this local community here in Southport.
Nikki, thanks once again. We will come away for now, but thanks for taking us through all of those developments after that Merseyside police statement confirming the names of the 3 girls who died after yesterday's attack, and actually the first pictures being released as well. So do head to the live page on the BBC website. There you see those same pictures, the latest details, but all of the witness accounts, the latest from the authorities, the latest from our teams on the ground, all of that available there on the BBC News website. Well, let's come away from all of that. In a few minutes, we'll have the latest in terms of those protests from Venezuela. We'll bring you the latest from the Middle East. We'll also bring you the latest on those landslides in southern India. So all of those important stories here in the next minutes ahead. But let's pause from all of that because let's turn to the Olympics for the next few minutes. Let's go live to Paris for the latest on the Games. Mariam Mashiri is there for us. Mariam, over to you. Good afternoon.
Matthew, thank you. It's day 4 of the Paris Olympics and the action continues throughout the day. It's really, really hot in Paris at the moment. Temperatures of at least 35 degrees Celsius. Not something that's going to help competitors whose events are outdoors, and it won't be too comfortable for spectators either. Let's take you through some of the sport. At the beach volleyball, look at this. There was zero shade from the sun. Not ideal on a day like today. You can see here volunteers walking around the stands. They're spraying spectators with water. The heat's expected to be worse in the south of the country, near Marseille, which is hosting events like the sailing and the football, and where the temperature is set to reach 40 degrees today. Bad news also for triathletes. They won't be able to compete today after organisers earlier announced the men's triathlon will be... Matthew, I'm afraid I have to hand back to you straight away.
Mariam, apologies. I'm going to take you straight to Southport and the live pictures because you will understand when you see the pictures, because the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, there at the scene, laying his flowers. I'm just going to put the microphones up.
Bye-bye. Got your photos, off we go. Make a real change, Prime Minister. Get some attention. Get some attention.
People shouting at Sir Keir Starmer. I can't quite make out what they're saying, but the Prime Minister just laying his flowers, a few moments of reflection there, and then he departs. And we know a little earlier in the sequencing of events. He's actually been meeting with the police, Merseyside Police, actually meeting some of the first responders who were there at the scene a little over 24 hours ago, seeing some horrifying images when they first arrived, and then of course trying to give first aid. And the Prime Minister, just like Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, Nikki was talking to us a little earlier, making the point that Yvette Cooper spoke to journalists, but spoke to them away from that exact scene. And the same there from the Prime Minister, with Sir Keir Starmer spending just a few minutes there, adding to the floral tributes, a few moments of reflection, and then he departs. But let me bring Nikki back in, because he is there. Nikki, we know that prior to arriving where you are, the Prime Minister was meeting the police, the emergency services, the first responders, to talk to them about yesterday's terrible events.
Yes, absolutely. He has been meeting them, as has the Home Secretary earlier. And as you saw, he did arrive, lay his flowers, but then there were a few people who were here heckled. I heard, because it was quite brief, someone shout, "Was that it?" And then I caught someone else shouting, "Go away." So you did hear that there was some heckling of the Prime Minister here, because, of course, emotions are very high, as we've been talking in the last hour here in Southport after this incident. So the Prime Minister, obviously, he's issued a statement almost immediately yesterday after this incident had happened. He wanted to come here and meet the emergency services who were dealing with this incident yesterday, but also to lay some flowers behind. But as you heard, a couple of voices there shouting out things as he laid those flowers, along with, as we said earlier, the Home Secretary who laid her flowers. Very different atmosphere this morning. It was silent when she did that. As I say, a little bit more noise when the Prime Minister laid his flowers just a few moments ago, Matthew.
Nikki, thanks once again, and we'll talk to Nikki again in the coming minutes. But we were in the middle of Olympics coverage when we broke away to take those important pictures. So let's rejoin Mariam, who has more from Paris 2024. Mariam, back to you.
Matthew, thank you very much. We're just telling you, weren't we, a moment or two ago, about the triathlon and the fact that the athletes may be delayed until tomorrow. They may even have to do a duathlon. That means they'll have to just do the running and the cycling part of the race because of the rainfall we saw earlier in the week, having an impact on the River Seine's pollution levels. We'll talk about that a little bit later. One other thing I wanted to talk to you about was this. We've been hearing one of the big aims of Paris 2024, the organising committee, was to bring these games as much as they can to the public. You saw it, didn't you, in the opening ceremony along the River Seine. It wasn't held in a stadium. The stadium came to the heart of Paris, so to speak, and it was a very inclusive ceremony. Well, throughout Paris 2024, we have an Olympic first. It's called Champions Park. It's located in the centre of central Paris at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. And Champions Park allows the public to come in every day and to meet some of the athletes, the victorious ones, and to celebrate the achievements with them. It's an incredible thing that's never been done before, to my knowledge. And I'm very happy to say that I'm joined here by Delphine Moulin, Director of Celebrations Paris 2024. Delphine, it's a real pleasure to have you on the programme, because you are one of the people who have organised this, and it's such an incredible, inclusive thing to do. What gave you the idea in the first place?
So, as you said, it's a first. So we wanted to have some innovation in Paris 2024 and to ensure that the experience of the athletes will be something new. And we add to their experience, after all day of victory, all days of media, having this next day with the fan and to share the emotion of the victory. And of course, also, the place we have in the back of us, it's the Trocadero, and the Trocadero is also iconic for the fans, iconic for the athletes, and it's a great place for them to meet. So we have 13,000 fans that can come free. They can come, no registration. So it's a great moment for them to come and to also celebrate and congratulate as well the athletes.
And they could just turn up and they could go in, and there'd be athletes there. There's no ticketing, there's no charge.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we wanted to open wide the games, as you know, and we wanted also to create something new. So having this opportunity really to have this new link and this meeting between the fan and the athletes, which is not so common during the games, because in the competition venues, we can't really see the athletes as a fan. So it was also the possibility for all visitors, all international fans to come, because of course it's the medalist of the world. And it's a great place as well to celebrate with part of the Eiffel Tower in the middle. To have this connection with the Eiffel Tower is of course something really nice.
What's the feedback been so far from the fans who've taken part?
So yesterday was the first day, so it was like, it's for us it was a great success, because we were like 95% full. All the athletes were super happy to have this connection, and of course when you come and you walk on the catwalk through the Eiffel Tower with your medal, of course it's creating something really great. We also create some cultural elements and some great entertainment for the fans, so please come and visit the Champions Park.
Tell me a little bit about the fan zones as well, because they're dotted around Paris, aren't they?
Yeah.
What kind of things can you enjoy in a fan zone?
So our idea was really to ensure that the people can do some sports, so having some cultural and sport elements, and of course to leave the broadcast and the athletes' performance. So we have 180 live sites in the country and more than 40 in the region of Paris. So of course it's free. It was also our great moment for them, for the visitors, to see some games if they don't have tickets. And it's a great opportunity to share again the emotion of the athletes and again the victory of all the medalists.
And you're also in charge of the torch relay. That was a huge success, wasn't it? Tell me a little bit about that. What kind of people did you want to carry the torch, and how did you kind of come up with the route that it took as well? Was that significant?
Yeah, again, like we start 8th of May in Marseille, and as you know and as you see, we arrive by boat.
Yes.
A great boat, and we create something new as well, because it was not done in the past. So this creates also a great moment for territories. We cross overseas. We went by boat as well crossing the Atlantics. And all these territories were super happy. We had some great popular moments. More than 8 million people came to see the torch and the flame. It was just magic, and we give the magic of the games to these people. And if we look at the torchbearer, as you asked me, it's we really try to find the parity as we have for the games, also having all generation and ensuring that everybody can participate from the sport world to cultural world or social world.
And what a fantastic ceremony that was as well, that ended with the torchbearers lighting that cauldron. The cauldron's such an amazing idea, and actually you can go and visit it, can't you, as a person, with tickets, I think, right?
Yeah, you just need to register, but it's free of charge. So you have a platform on the website of Paris 2024, and again, like it's a lot of people wants to come because again, I think it's a great innovation. We also transform it as well with one of our partners, EDF, the possibility to have this cauldron made by water and lights, which is different.
It's a sustainable cauldron,
it's
very
completely
different.
Sustainable, and it's really the new things we wanted to share with and having this going down to up at night during and seeing that on the sky of Paris, I think it's created also a new moment.
Delphine Moulin, it's been so good to talk to you. Thank you very much. It's so inspirational to talk to someone who actually organised everything to do with the torch relay and the Champions Park. All great innovations. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks a lot.
So Delphine, one of the big organisers of those events. And look, you know, the sport continues today. There are 14 gold medals up for grabs. A few of them have already been won, Matthew. I'll bring you all the very latest throughout the evening here from Paris.
Mariam, thanks very much. Juggling so many important stories. Now, the World Health Organization says injured and critically ill Palestinians are on their way from Gaza to the United Arab Emirates for treatment. It's the largest single medical evacuation since the brutal Hamas attack on southern Israel on October the 7th. Let's get this report from Barbara Plett-Usher.
A rare chance for Gaza's sick and injured to get the care they can't get here. This is the beginning of a long journey, they hope. Nothing is ever certain. Lemis Abu Salim needs major surgery for her scoliosis, delayed now by 6 months.
I call on the whole world to look at us with compassion. I could not believe it when they contacted me, that my daughter was amongst those on the list going outside Gaza for treatment.
So many need to be healed. But Israel's war against Hamas has closed hospitals, killed doctors, blocked medicines. inflicted traumatic injuries and trauma.
We were struck. My eldest son was killed. My father was killed. My youngest son, Asa, lost his sight. His left eye was blown out with a skull fracture. My middle son suffers from a leg injury and leg deformities. And I suffer a skull fracture, blindness in my left eye, and a broken shoulder and ribs.
There's no safe place in Gaza. The front line keeps closing in. Many have to flee time and time again. They have nowhere to go. This is one of the only ways out. Not the first medical evacuation, but it is the biggest. 12-year-old Sara Marzouk lost her foot in an explosion.
I wish that the war would end and that all children like me will be able to come with me and have artificial limbs fitted and receive treatment abroad. I also hope that I will return to see my father in peace.
It's a bittersweet goodbye in the middle of a war. Hoping for a cure, hoping even more they will see their families again, that one day they'll be able to return. Barbara Platt-Usher, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, let's close this hour where we started with the police releasing the details and the pictures of the 3 girls killed in that stabbing attack, aged 6, 7 and 9. Those the first pictures released, as well as their names. In the last little while, we've seen the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, arriving to lay his tribute there, very close to the scene. And Sir Keir Starmer there where the Home Secretary had been a little earlier. I'll show you the live pictures. We will talk to our correspondents both at the scene and at the local hospitals here on the programme in the next little while. Don't go away.